Hey dog people, you know I love talking all things muzzle related. Well, I'm so excited to announce that I've partnered with Trust Your Dog, custom dog gear for you and your dog. Trust Your Dog muzzles are completely customizable for your needs and your unique dog. Muzzles are great for a variety of uses, such as allergies, requesting space from triggers, post-op site protection, and of course, bite prevention. Each Trust Your Dog muzzle is expertly fit and handmade, with the choice of bright colors and bling to break down the muzzle stigma. Trust Your Dog's mission is to give humans comfort in knowing their dog is safe, all by empowering humans to trust their dogs. Head on over to trustyourdog.com and use my code FREED10. That's FREED10 for 10% off. Use code FREED10 for 10% off your custom muzzle at trustyourdog.com. Welcome to Dog Training Bytes. The show where canine professionals share their key takeaways, big aha moments, and hardest lessons learned from working with dogs. I'm Mattison, certified dog trainer and behavior consultant, and dogs are my life. Every day I get to coach guardians and other trainers into a deeper understanding of canine behavior. But let's face it, sometimes dog training really bites. And that's okay, because when it does, we learn a lot. This podcast is all about sharing the lessons learned from experience, because the stories of when it got tough or when we made a mistake, that's when we learn the lessons worth learning. And it's time we share those with the world. I'll be talking to dog trainers and other pet professionals about times that working with dogs, well, bit. Not literally. Maybe literally. What's most important here on this show, what did they walk away with? What did they learn? How did it shape their approach today? Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where pet professionals share personal lessons that you won't find in any textbook. I'm very excited to introduce a good friend of mine, Tiffany Henson. Tiffany's dog training journey started when she worked with a 52-dog sled dog group, and her drive to understand her own new rescue led her to an apprenticeship and career in dog training in 2016. Tiffany is a member of the Tulsa Pack Athletics Cooperative and is passionate about both dog sports and creating new ways for dogs and their guardians to adventure together. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me, Mattison.
I'm so glad to have you here. And I'm going to start with the same question that I'm asking everyone. I want to hear about your pack. I want to hear about the dogs. We got a great little crew here.
Yay. Oh my gosh, I love talking about my dogs. So my first one is my big dog who got me into dog training. That's Alan. He's a St. Bernard boxer mix, and he's absolutely the best. He's like my heart dog. He's definitely very stubborn, and we've been through so much together. He's like 10 now. And
Alan's a
we're
real
like,
star.
yeah, I know. I don't know what I'm gonna do when he like gets to the point where like I'm gonna have to say goodbye, because he's just such a good dog, and he's like gotten me through so much. Like I would not have ever considered dog training if it weren't for him, and like that journey has stick.
We all have
Then we
that
have
dog in our lives.
he's the best. Oh, he's just sleeping right now too. So he's like, oh my gosh,
As he does.
all the time. Then we have Rocket. She's our middle child, and she fits all the middle child everything. So she's super mischievous. She's too intelligent for her own good. She's always ready to go. She really is like a little party girl. I wake up in the morning and she's like, hey, are you sure you have to go to work and you can't take me on a run this morning? Because I'd rather you
Ready
just
to
take me for a
go.
run.
Yeah.
Always. And she's also a rescue. She's my foster fail. I swore up and down that I was just going to foster her, and then I couldn't get rid of her. I actually sabotaged a couple of her meet and greets because I was like, oh
Whoops.
no,
Oh no.
I don't want to
And
lose her.
And she's who you run some sport with?
I do. So she does Fast Cat. She has
Yeah.
her B Cat, and she like, we did do lure coursing before we moved to Hawaii, but they just didn't have the space there to do that, and then the pandemic. But now we're back
Yeah.
in Florida, Georgia area, so hopefully we'll be able to do some more sports and
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of stuff out here, so she is
Definitely.
learning dock diving. We tried that this summer, so we can't wait for the summer to come back because there's a place really nearby us to
I
do
love
that.
that.
And then lastly, Bella, my little dog. She's really my husband's dog. She likes me. She tolerates me. I raised her whole life practically, and
The spare human.
I'm the spare human, most
Yeah.
definitely.
It happens.
We acquired her very interesting. There was a military family that as a puppy, like it was just too much. They couldn't handle having a puppy at that time, didn't fit into their lifestyle. And I had already been watching her during the days, and they asked if we would like to take her. And of course, I couldn't say no at that point. I was already connected. So we've had her since she was about 11 weeks old. And
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear the story that you have prepared for us today. Is this a story about Bella?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay. So we're going back to when Bella was just a pup.
Oh my gosh, yes. As a dog trainer, I had not worked with a ton of puppies. So getting my own puppy was not something I was anticipating for a very long time. And at the time, I had primarily worked with prong collars. I had had a little bit of experience with slip leads, but I felt most comfortable using a prong collar, especially because Alan is such a big dog and
Yeah.
Rocket's great. She's fine. It's always been fine. She's a pretty good listener. So when I started working with Bella and teaching her how to walk on leash, she was already getting used to the leash because we kept her tethered in the house just so that she knew her boundaries and she couldn't have any potential for accidents in the house. But once she finally had all her shots and we were ready to start walking out in the real world, I was like, I think maybe a prong collar is what I want to kind of work with. And not knowing at the time how damaging that could be to a puppy, I got right on it. I got her a micro prong collar because she's a little dog. We got her hooked up. We would walk her on her flat collar sometimes. But there were a couple of instances where like I was using the like figure eights and stuff, and she would get to the end of the prong collar and it would self-correct, and she like was slowly figuring it out, but it really wasn't the best tool for me to utilize on such a young puppy. And like the older she got, the more reactive she got. And I really feel like that using a prong collar at such a young age was a huge factor in that, because I was correcting her when maybe she was just not feeling confident, or she was hearing these new dogs and not getting the chance to kind of like take the time to process the new dogs, and suddenly she's like getting self-corrected, or she's like hearing
Yeah.
all of the stuff. And
So tell me a little bit about the apprenticeship that you did way back in 2016 and sort of the ways in which tool use was approached and discussed at that time.
yeah, so the trainers that I was working with, they did use slip leads, but primarily prong collars were the thing, because in a lot of rescues, it gives owners a quick way to communicate and get quicker results with their
Yeah.
dogs. The trainers that we worked with did really reinforce that your dog needed to understand the tool before you were correcting, which I absolutely loved. They did a really good job at slowly introducing it and really heavily rewarding the introduction of a prong collar. However, we were working with older dogs that had lots of other issues. They didn't really put them on puppies, and I didn't get the opportunity to help out with their puppy classes, as their company had just been starting, and my work schedule, their puppy classes and my work schedule did not coincide. So that was the primary use. They were really focusing on bigger rescue dogs, not a lot of small dogs either. So
Yeah. So you found that unfortunately set Bella up to have some negative experiences while trying to do leash training. And
uh,
what have kind of been the thoughts that you've had since then?
most definitely, I think that and how she views other dogs when we're out,
Mm,
because those first few encounters with other dogs, and we were just trying to get a walk in, and she's suddenly self-correcting whenever we're going by other dogs, so she's getting some uncomfortable feeling around her neck with the prong. And I think that at such a young age, that was kind of putting a basis as like, oh, I see another dog, something that's uncomfortable happens, and I get
right.
corrected. And now she sees other dogs and she's like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen. We ended up transitioning to a harness or a slip lead, which has made a huge difference. Honestly, we use a
Mhm.
harness most of the time for her because she walks a million times better. She pays way more attention to my partner. Um, but I feel really bad for having put her through that whole process at all. Like I feel absolutely terrible for knowing that, had I known that prong collars might not be the best for young dogs, especially one that has her like disposition. She's a little bit more on the nervous side. She needs some confidence boosting. I I would not have done it. I would not have done it at all, because I didn't set her up for success the way I wanted her to succeed in life. Like, and so I have a lot of guilt around that. I'm
Well,
like,
you're
oh,
not the only one that, that trainers who avoid using those types of tools and do not believe in using aversive tools today have used them in the past. I'm one of them. I fall into that group as well. And the guilt is there, but we also can't allow the shame of that to wash over us too much because we didn't know what we didn't know. And this
yeah.
is a journey and we're doing differently and we're doing better today. And, I think that that's a pretty clear example of the type of fallout that we reference a lot with prongs and with aversive tools, which is not, not a guarantee that that's going to be the result that happens. But when you have a dog that has that nervous demeanor, I think you can definitely see that. So I'm curious, from that experience, and it sounds like it's stuck with you over the years, what did you walk away with that still impacts your approach today with your own dogs, but also more broadly with client dogs?
I definitely start less invasive, so much more less invasive. I take a lot more time introducing whatever tool, and I really feel like getting the basics inside the house before jumping straight out and walking can make a huge difference. Like really taking it very slow and kind of getting them comfortable with the tool that you're going to be using and boosting their confidence, especially if you're working with a nervous dog at home and in the
Mm,
house first and in
hmm.
your yard and then out and about can make such a huge difference on how they can handle situations, especially if you're dealing with a puppy. Like I wish I would have known that, and I'm glad I get to share
Yeah.
that information now because
That
just
pressure to get the
slowly
dog around the
building.
block is just, it can really be harmful to progress in relationships of dogs that have lower level of confidence. And I don't know that getting getting the dog around the block is nearly as valuable as people think it is.
Oh my gosh, I agree 100%. Like there are so many different ways that like our lives have changed since we moved from Maryland to Hawaii to Florida, Georgia. Like I don't take my dogs on walks anymore practically because just the area that we're living in doesn't allow us to go around the block safely sometimes because like
Is
there's
that
no good sidewalks.
now
Yeah, there's
where you
no
are?
good
Okay.
sidewalks.
Wow.
It's terrible. I used to walk all the time. But I do agree, like in my head, when I became a dog owner and when became a dog trainer in the beginning, it was like, you have to take your dog on a walk. You have to do this. And like now I'm like, nah, my dogs are totally happy chilling in the house as long as we do some enrichment and like
Yeah.
find some fun hide and seek games. And
Mm-hmm.
if we when we have nice days out, we do get to go on a walk. That's great. But honestly, they'd just be happy if I let them in the front yard to sniff around.
Right. So this isn't related to what we've been talking about, but I'm curious, just because you've lived in different areas, both as, guardian and as a trainer, were there any significant cultural shifts that you found around, I don't know, being in partnership with your dog or how dogs are allowed out in the world when you were living in Hawaii?
People are so much more respectful of your dog's space in Hawaii.
Mm,
I was amazed at how many people did not come up and be like, "Oh my god, let me pet your dog." They're very much like, "No, that's that person's dog. I'm gonna leave them alone. Like they're doing their own thing." There's a few people that, of course, come up, but it was very much like, "We respect your family and your family's son. We're not gonna like come bother you." And it was kind of a culture shock moving back here at how many people are like, can I pet your dog? Runs up and pets dog without even asking. Like,
yeah.
excuse me, you're an adult. Please respect our space. Please acknowledge that like I'm here before you touch my fur child. Like, excuse me.
That honestly feels very disrespectful to me when people acknowledge my dog before me. And I don't know if it's because a lot of the times the dogs that I actually have with me maybe don't want to be addressed directly by strangers on the street. I would prefer to be asked, "Hey, could I say hi to your dog?" as opposed to, "Hey, bud, you want to come say hi?" It's like, "Hey, I'm up here too."
I've noticed also the difference in like East Coast and or not East Coast. Well, I get the North and South. I don't
Yep.
know. Geography's not my strong suit. So here in Florida, Georgia, I've also noticed that more people are a little bit more hesitant to come up and bother your dogs, and they do ask more here. Whereas, like when I was living in Maryland, people did not care. They would just come up and try to pet my dog, and I would have to be really on my game of like, no, you have to ask. Like, please stop, back up.
And it's
Um,
strange because the rest of the world does not have this sense of entitlement to one another's animals.
Yeah.
It's really just here.
I agree. And when I've traveled abroad, I find myself being like, oh, I want to pet their dog, but I know better. Like I've seen dogs and I have to remind
Right. I'm
myself
like, I gotta rein it in. Gotta rein it in.
dogs are not a novelty and they're not a toy. They're a living sentient human being. And I personally wouldn't like want somebody in my bubble. And I don't want to create that dog to be uncomfortable or that owner. Like most of the time I'm like, okay, those are very beautiful dogs. And I
But
try to
they
keep
don't
that to my
exist.
nibblings.
They don't exist for us to get a 30-second dopamine hit.
Right? Right. Like please just like
I mean, I
enjoy
get it. They're
from a
great. I
view.
love dogs, but yeah, I'm with you.
I was gonna say I was working with this rescue dog who like really didn't want anybody in his bubble. He was very much like, please get out, please just like stay out of my space. And that's kind of how we worked, is like I didn't get in his bubble and we worked happily from a distance, which is really why I like virtual training. I think that's a huge benefit, is you don't have
Agreed.
a stranger in your bubble.
We are inherently respecting the dog's boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Tiffany, is there anything else that you would like the listeners to know about you or what you do?
I guess not. I'm a nurse during the day and I'm a dog trainer at night. And I definitely love having virtual clients. So I am going to be starting accepting new clients. And because I'm a nurse and I have weird hours, it makes it great for virtual training. So I
Absolutely.
also love having the designated time when I'm working with my clients to also get some extra training with my dogs. So
Yep.
I need a
Absolutely.
buddy and I love having virtual clients through that.
It's
So,
accountability and it goes in both directions.
yes, most definitely. So, if anyone needs a trainer, feel free to hit me up. Or if you just want to chat dog stuff, I'm always available. I love talking dogs. So,
Amazing. You can connect with Tiffany on Instagram at practicing_paws and check the show notes for more information on her business. Thanks for joining us in the world of dog training bites, where every challenge brings a lesson worth sinking our teeth into. See you next time. Dog Training Bites was created, produced, and edited by Mattison Simpson. You can connect with me on Instagram at Dog Training Bytes, that's BYTES, and at Freed by Training. For information on today's guest and resources for help with your dog or dog training education, visit www.dogtrainingbytes.stream. Looking for more? Listen to my other show, Unpacked, a clinical dog training podcast co-hosted by Sailor Jerry the dog trainer and produced by Straight Up Dog Talk LLC.